is truly an exciting and hopeful day for Ohio crime victims and all of us who serve them. We also have a handful of speakers that you're going to be hear from in a moment. Prosecutor Ron O'Brien of Franklin County. We have survivor Anna Herr, survivor Danielle Moreland, MAD co-founder Andrea Raycamp, Sheriff Dallas Baldwin of Franklin County, and David Voth of Crime Victim Services, and they're going to be sharing a bit with you in a moment. So we are all gathered here today to announce the official kickoff of Marsy's Law for Ohio. It's an 88-county effort to place crime victims' Bill of Rights in the Ohio Constitution. And we, all of us together, have the opportunity to make crime victims' rights a reality in Ohio. Marsy's Law will bring unprecedented protections to crime victims in Ohio by not only ensuring they will have the right to notification of all proceedings, the right to be present at proceedings, the right to be heard at proceedings, the right to restitution, and a clearly articulated right to enforce their rights when they're ignored. Marsy's Law for Ohio will elevate crime victims to equal footing with defendants to ensure that crime victims are treated with fairness, dignity, and respect, and receive equal protections and equal access to justice. This year, the theme for National Crime Victims' Rights Week is strength, resiliency, and justice. Crime victims have strength. Crime victims have resilience. What crime victims need is justice. I'm going to start now by introducing Franklin County Prosecutor Ron O'Brien.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. I joined with Kathy Harper-Lee here this morning and the broad coalition that she introduced in support of Marsy's Law. The petitioners talked to me sometime late last year and then early this year as they began their efforts to consider whether or not to present this petition here in Ohio and ask the voters to put in the Constitution a broader and additional protections than currently exist by Constitution or statute. And over the years, I have worked with many of the people that you see up here today on victims' rights issues and members of the legislature. I saw Jim Butler from Butler County. I saw our chair of the Criminal Justice Committee in the House last year and worked with him on many criminal justice issues. I saw Andrew Brenner from Delaware County who was here earlier. And certainly the legislature has led an effort to protect victims' rights. But this puts in the Constitution some additional protections, and particularly the one that I think Kathy has advocated over the years, and is a mechanism to enforce those rights. Here in Franklin County, I believe we effectively enforce those rights, and I think any prosecutor in the state that is doing their job and following both the existing law and the proposed provisions of the Constitution will not have any issues with any people in this room or the coalitions they represent. But I think the ability to enforce those rights, because in some parts of the states, as you will probably hear later, they sometimes have difficulty in enforcing the rights that currently exist. This provides an additional protection of enforcement, and I think that is largely one of the additional provisions and benefits that both I support, and I think those that may have questions, well, we already have existing protections, why do we need more? I think that's the primary reason, at least in my mind. So with that, Kathy, I join with you and the petitioners in supporting Marsy's Law as it goes forward on the ballot.
Thank you very much. This is awkward, I guess I can.
Thank you, Kathy, for the invitation to come here and speak. From law enforcement, I completely support the Marsy's Law amendment. Protection of the crime victims is so important. I attended yesterday Heroin Summit conference, and I think nowadays there's so much focus on addictions and the heroin problem and things like that. We have to remember the crime victims. Sometimes they get left behind. We tend to forget them. There's so many other programs going on. So I think to echo what Prosecutor Ron O'Brien said, it's very important to pay attention to the victim's rights, right to notification and to be present in proceedings, right of protection when during those proceedings maybe they feel threatened, and it's our job as law enforcement to provide public safety. and for notification when someone gets released from incarceration or proceedings. We need to be there for the victims. It's easy for them to get left behind, but from law enforcement, I want to say we completely support this amendment. Thank you for having me here.
Sheriff, I want to thank you for quickly becoming a strong advocate for crime victims. And Prosecutor O'Brien, I do want to thank you for being a long-time advocate for crime survivors. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to introduce Andrea Raycamp and David Voth. This really dynamic duo were the team that helped put together the 1994 Victims' Rights Amendment. They're going to share a little bit about that amendment and why the challenges that we've seen over the years and why the Marsy's Law for Ohio Amendment is necessary. Andrea and David.
I've been a victim advocate for 32 years, helping draft our 94 constitutional amendments, our 1996 Victims' Rights Law, and other laws and policies. I've seen healing of victims' trauma when their rights are protected and their re-victimization when treated like evidence. There's 3 reasons I want to give for supporting Marsy's Law. There are essentially 2 extremes we have to avoid. One is we cannot ignore victims. Secondly, we cannot give them control. This Victims' Bill of Rights provides that balance. Victims being informed, present, heard, being repaid, safety considered, provides them a meaningful role, and those rights do not give victims control over the justice process or defendants' rights. Secondly, in '94, we opted for lofty constitutional language to fairness, dignity, and respect. We now know that a more specific Victims' Bill of Rights is needed, and it must be in the Constitution, so we can't suddenly lose our rights through legislation. I am convinced of that every time I get a whispered phone call from a victim somewhere in Ohio saying, I just got kicked out of the courtroom, what am I supposed to do? Thirdly, Marsy's Law for Ohio is needed to fix our outdated language. For example, the Ohio Constitution now says that if a victim is not heard at sentencing, nothing can be done. But the United States Supreme Court has ordered hearings redone and offenders resentenced if the right to a victim impact statement was denied. This Victims' Bill of Rights does not ignore victims, it does not give them control, but provides balance. It provides specific rights and gives lofty rights to safety, dignity, and privacy. Marsy's Law for Ohio complies with U.S. Supreme Court rulings. Crime victims need this constitutional amendment, and they need it now. Thank you.
Good morning. Like David and Kathy and all the other coalition members, I'm pleased to be here today to offer my support to Marsy's Law of Ohio. As co-chair of the Ohio Constitutional Amendment Network, which secured passage of the Ohio Victims' Rights Constitutional Amendment in 1994, it's an honor to once again support victims' rights for Ohio citizens who have been victims and survivors of crime. The 1994 amendment, which passed overwhelmingly with a 78% approval rate, provided victims the right to be treated with fairness, dignity, and respect in the criminal justice system, as well as other rights. All the rights afforded to victims in the 1994 amendment lacked an enforcement mechanism. Marsy's Law will provide that mechanism. I've assisted hundreds, if not thousands, of victims and their families in the last 35 years, and although there have been many changes and improvements, today there are still victims whose rights are being violated. Victims' rights are a fundamental justice principle that should be afforded to victims everywhere in Ohio. A victim's right should not be determined by the jurisdiction of where the crime occurred. Marsy's Law would secure rights not currently given in all jurisdictions throughout Ohio, and the rights set forth in the amendment must be protected as vigorously as the rights of the accused. I am honored to have the opportunity once again to work to strengthen the rights of victims throughout Ohio, and look forward to Marsy's Law initiative receiving overwhelming support on November's ballot. Thank you.